Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a digital art challenge that's going to test my creativity and patience in a way I never thought possible. That's right, today I'm attempting the Lasso tool art challenge. I'm going to create an entire piece of artwork using only the Lasso tool in Speedpaint, or Lasso. I don't know which way to say it. My sister bullies me for the way I say it. But anyways, no brushes, no pen, no airbrush, just the Lasso tool and a whole bunch of creative thinking. Will this be a piece of cake or an absolute nightmare? Let's find out. Before we begin, this was a drawing I did for Art Fight. This OC belongs to Serene-Silver on Art Fight. The reason I decided to use the Lasso tool for this art piece is because I was revenging every attack I received, and I was falling so behind on all my revenges, and since Lasso art has a reputation for being fast, I decided to give it a crack. Alright, quick rundown. The Lasso tool is one of the most basic selection tools that can be found in probably most art programs. It allows you to draw large swaths of colour very quickly. Normally, artists use it to make selections to cut, copy, mask, and fill big blocks of colour and stuff. But for this challenge, I'm going to use it as the main tool for the entire drawing process. It's going to be tricky, but hey, we're here to push boundaries, right? So, let's see if I can make something look even just slightly decent with just the Lasso tool. I'm kind of doubting my abilities, but I'm going to start by sketching out the basic shape of what I want to create with a brush. I know, I've technically already failed, but since this was during Art Fight, I knew it would be so much faster for me to sketch the typical way and then render with the Lasso tool. So technically the sketch and the line art make this challenge a fail, but shh, let's ignore that. I did try to draw something on my own using literally only the Lasso tool, and it was so ugly. So, I knew I needed a sketch as a base and the line art in order to make this look good. This is an art trade, in a way, so I needed it to look good. Didn't want to disappoint Serene. The Lasso tool is great for adding colour. When adding the base colours for this piece, sometimes the shape I made ended up a little on the jagged side, since the Lasso tool ignores what you have your stabilizer set to, since it's not a brush. That made it a little bit tricky, but given the jam-packed design of this OC, I was hoping that the jagged look would fit, I guess, but also be hidden behind the details. Initially, not gonna lie, I found it a lot harder than I imagined. With a pen or a brush, you have a lot more precision, but the Lasso tool forces you to commit to whole shapes, rather than slowly creating a shape, if you kind of catch my drift. I'm kind of embracing the chaos, and like I mentioned before, I was hoping that the chaotic feel would fit the OC and overall add to the vibe of the drawing. Okay, so it's time to render. One thing I noticed is that it's kind of hard to make smooth transitions between colours. With brushes, you can blend colours and easily create gradients, but with the Lasso tool, you're basically just drawing blocks of colour. So forcing me to think more about colour contrast and composition rather than blending. You may have noticed, but I did cheat again and use the airbrush. Someone cancel me! I still wanted some gradients, but I tried to keep them a bit more on the subtle side and relied mostly on the cell shading done with the Lasso tool to kind of carry the shading. As you can see, there are some pretty sharp lines in certain areas of the shading, and I wanted to make sure it felt balanced, so after using the Lasso tool, I went in with the soft eraser, I think it's called in Speedpaint, and slightly rubbed out the edges of some of the shading to soften it up. It's kind of like sculpting with the Lasso tool. You can add a bit here, tweak a little bit there, and then suddenly the rendering starts to make sense. Shading in this way definitely changed the way I had to think about the placement of colours, and I think this resulted in a more dynamic and contrasty end product. Sometimes I get scared to make shadows dark, but the Lasso tool was a great way to combat this fear head on. Towards the end, I definitely softened the shading and added some last minute lighting to make all the rendering cohesive, which did wash out the shading a bit, but I'm still happy with the shading, and I'll consider this a triumph nonetheless. Before I continue yapping, if you're enjoying this video, subscribe. I post weekly videos about art tips, tricks, challenges, drama, everything. Okay, back to your regularly scheduled content. It's actually kind of satisfying seeing how this comes together. I tried to use the hard edges of the selections to my advantage, letting the jagged shapes contribute to the overall frenzied vibe of the piece. It definitely started to feel like I was crafting something more cohesive, which is kind of crazy, so not bad for a tool that I thought would limit me to basic shapes. Once I continued the rendering, it started to look a lot less like a mess and more like an actual piece of art. It definitely went through its rough phase, and I was definitely hesitant about using the Lasso tool for the vast majority of the rendering and shading, but as I continued to grow confidence in it, it started to look legit. Towards the end, I made a few last minute adjustments, some light highlights and shadows to add depth and just bring the whole drawing together and make all the individual bits I rendered nice and cohesive. I went ahead and cleaned up some of the edges a bit too, which you can't really see in the Speedpaint. For the background, I just used the Speedpaint image asset because I felt lazy. And here it is, the final piece. In the end, it took 2 hours and 36 minutes, so actually longer than what typical bust-up drawings take me. I don't think it was the Lasso tool's fault though. I think it was just due to the more complex design of the OC, so it was a bit more bits and pieces for me to render. Anyways, I can't believe I pulled this off, honestly. I didn't expect it to turn out this well, but I'm happy with how it looks. This is irrelevant to using the Lasso tool, but I love how her face turned out. I tend to struggle to draw faces at a 3/4 angle, so this was definitely one of the more successful attempts at that. The Lasso tool definitely gave it a unique charm. There's something about those jagged lines and bold color blocks that make it feel like fresh and dynamic. It's not perfect, but it's got character. So that's it. The Lasso tool art challenge. Oh, I've been saying Lasso this whole time. I think that's the way my sister said you're not supposed to say it. The Lasso tool art challenge was definitely more challenging than I thought, but somehow simultaneously easier than I thought. I think I got more used to it as I continued on. And yeah, it was super fun. It pushed me to kind of think out the box and embrace a different style in a way and process of creating. If I'm being honest, I don't think I ever would have created something like this if I wasn't forced to use just one tool, mostly. I mean, just for a prime example, look at the rendering of the bonbon hair bow. It looks amazing, specifically because I used the Lasso tool. The Lasso tool. I would not have rendered it that good if I weren't using the Lasso tool. So that's pretty cool. So looking at the final piece, I'm actually kind of impressed by how much can be done with just the Lasso tool, for the most part. I mean, I know I cheated somewhat, but regardless, the more abstract shading and rendering might not be for everyone, which I totally get. I love super soft art too, but I think it has a unique quality to it. It's definitely rough around the edges, but sometimes that's what makes a piece stand out, right? I'm totally not trying to just convince myself that my bad art is actually good, but I'm definitely going to continue to utilize the Lasso tool in my art going forward. If you guys want to give the Lasso tool art challenge a try, I highly recommend it. It's a fun way to challenge yourself and push your creative limits, especially if you don't cheat like me. So if you try this challenge, definitely tag me in it. I'd love to see what you create. Plus, it's an exercise in thinking differently about how you approach art. So, what are you waiting for? Open up your art program of choice, equip the Lasso tool, and get creative. And if you want to watch more from me, click on the videos on screen right now. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!